State Trustees is responsible for the finances of over 10,000 Victorians who can't manage their own affairs, usually due to disability or illness. We've seen over the last few years a significant increase in the number of complaints about State Trustees, raising questions about whether they act in people's best interests. People put their trust in State Trustees, and in many of the cases we saw, all too often that trust has been breached. Money being paid out when it shouldn't be, money not being paid when it should. And at the heart of these complaints is an overwhelming sense of powerlessness. Many of these problems stem from poor communication. In one instance, we saw State Trustees spending a third of a woman's life savings on legal fees to contest a will that she didn't actually want to contest. Instances where money was being paid for fines that the person involved hadn't actually incurred. In another case, the State Trustees didn't check with an elderly woman about what should happen to her possessions, and they all ended up in a tip that's included family photographs. Very, very distressing. Many of the problems we identified in this investigation were the result of State Trustees trying to contain the cost of its services. So they moved to a new model. The result of that, in one instance we looked at, where were 48 different people dealing with the same person's file. Now, some of the State Trustees staff we talked to said to us that it made them more transactional. It changed their mindset to the point where sometimes they forgot they were dealing with human beings. My investigation has been underway for 12 months already, and in that time we have begun to see real improvements. Many State Trustees staff are very dedicated and have told us about their frustrations and not being listened to in the past. I've made 14 recommendations to State Trustees and other government departments, including reviewing the funding for State Trustees to ensure that people have the capacity to make decisions about their own affairs wherever possible. And I've also asked the government to consider whether it's right to continue the model of a state-owned corporation, whether the commercial imperative there in fact conflicts with the focus on human rights. These are some of the most vulnerable people in the state. Respect for human dignity means we must do better.